Hi, team. Welcome to the Escape Podcast for Star Wars The Old Republic. Coming up, a deep dive into the crafting in 4.0. But first, a couple bits of SWTOR news and a shout out to our guild, Alea Iacta Est. Our broadcast astromech today is EPC 115 here, who I was just telling all about me playing SWTOR on a plane, which I'll describe in a bit. Good question, buddy. I don't know if you'll be able to play SWTOR from the escape pod, but you better buckle that belt low and tight across your lap for takeoff anyway. And, EPC, the exits are located nowhere. With me, as always, is Seema. Hi, Seema. How's it going?
You're cold, Max. That was a cold one. Oh, let's see. Gosh, I'm great. Things are going very well. I'm sort of in like overwhelm mode with the X Pack. I feel like about a week behind everyone else because had to go out of town I was gone for 5 days, but it feels like, but they were 5 crucial days. So anyway, I have actually gotten through the story on my main and started the story on a second character, and I've done the beginning of working on my alliance stuff, and I've done like the one-man version of the Star Fortress, but I haven't done in any of the H2 plus versions yet. And plus I have all these alerts in my thing, and I've been doing crafting, and I've been looking at the GTN. It's just a lot of stuff going on, but it's good stuff. It's good stuff. Let's see what else. As you can see, I got my act dog, which was one of my goals, was to get this act dog, and I ended up buying him. I got him from a hyper crate, but I bought the hyper crate from the GTN.
Oh, you
So
did. I didn't know that.
So I have
Okay.
experience with the new format for the crates. I like that they're very consolidated now, but I agree with a lot of people that commented on the forums that it doesn't seem like it's the same value for money. And I think it's more of a perception thing, because yes, there was a lot of stuff in the old crates that you didn't have any use for, the various XP ones, but now you don't get the rep token or the Jawa junk, and that's what people are missing, and I can see that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit in the news. There's some
And
good
then
feedback going on about that.
last minute last night, shout out to Arv and Middle and you two, Max, for helping me finish off my personal conquest thing at the end of the week. We it was the last minute. We went and did heroic Red Reaper,
Yeah.
which neither of us had done before.
Never done
So
it
we got
before.
achievements.
Yeah.
And then I still needed 1,000 more points, so we did a tactical and we got Red Reaper again.
Right.
But yes,
Ironic.
thanks guys for helping me out there, and I hope this week we are able to pick a planet that's not just all flashpoints and ops.
Yes.
So that was good, and yeah, so I'm enjoying my act dog, and I did take some time out. It seems like a bad time to do it, but I was getting annoyed with my synth weaver being level 55 because I kept wanting to send that sixth companion out, and so today I sat down and said okay, and I went to McKeb with her for about 45 minutes, I mean, not long at all, and got her to 56. So there, I got that off my list.
Yeah, I've got my smuggler that I think I want to do that with because he's my arms tech. So
Yeah, I still have a couple of my crafters that are level 55. I still need to do it, but right now I like making the crit and the alacrity augments. I think I'm going to need to make quite a few more, so I'm happy that I at least got her out of the way, the synth weaver.
yeah.
So I have a feeling like I'm just touching on the surface. I'm so much going on, but anyway, I'll turn it over to you. And I mean, how has your week gone?
A lot the same. I've been deep into 4.0. I've really been sucked into the game, spending all available free time doing all the things. I finished all my alerts. I've only been on one character so far, which is interesting. So there's a lot of content. I feel like I've done most of anything I need to do on that one character. There's still some stuff I need to do on my mercenary, but I've got at least 3 other characters that I need to do stuff on so that they're ready to do endgame stuff on both sides. But I've done all the alerts. I got Conquest up to about 35K. I only wanted to get to the target, but then we did some extra, well, we did the stuff that we did last night. I PvP'd a bunch because I wanted to finish off Conquest, and I didn't know that I'd have time elsewise, so I did PvP on Friday and Saturday. Plus, I got like halfway done with the one companion. A little bit of spoiler there. One companion requires you to be doing some PvP. About half done with that. I'll finish that up this week. I did Ops twice, Group Finder twice throughout the week. I did, as we said, did a hard mode flashpoint, did a tactical, did a bunch of heroic missions on the planets to get crates, and I got the Act Dog, which I have out here, and leveled up my Act Dog so he can do the tricks that he's able to do, play dead and speak, and man. Oh, and I played SWTOR on a plane. So I had a business trip this week. And on the flight back, my Surface Book finally had SWTOR loaded up and ready to go. And they had internet available, Wi-Fi available on the plane back from Seattle to Chicago. Got on the Wi-Fi and was able to play SWTOR, actually play. In fact, I thought, well, you know, it was still a laggy connection. But I thought, how much can I really play? And it was enough to be doing planetary heroics. So I got a few of those done on the plane.
Nice.
And then I took a bunch of pictures, and I posted pictures on Reddit, and a bunch of people upvoted and asked me all about the Surface Book and playing on a plane and that kind of thing. So that was fun.
Yeah, I read the Reddit thread too, and it was a fun read.
Yeah. So all the things and plenty more. I'm gonna be deep into it again this week. If I can finish up what I need to do on my mercenary, I'll move on to my Vanguard next. So I've got one at least on the Republic side. And then I'll go back to my Power Tech, and then I'll go to my Commando, and then probably to my Sork. So I've got
I enjoyed doing ops this week because it was sort of like, I mean, our style of doing ops never is a whole lot of pressure, but it was sort of like, it doesn't matter your gear because of bolster.
Right.
It doesn't matter which ops we do because we know them all already like the back of our hand. So it's sort of like, yeah, let's go do some ops, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it worked out pretty well. So we did, what were the two we did? Well, we did Terra from Beyond with the one group I did. And what did we do? What did we get? I guess I did
What did we do
Conflict.
Sunday night? We did something.
Yeah, what did we get Sunday night? I don't even know. That's last night, you know.
I know. It's over 5 minutes ago.
So, yeah, I don't know. But yeah, they were fun, but still a little bit of a challenge, but not too much. Dread Palace. We did Dread Palace.
Yeah, that's right, Dread Palace, because
enough that we had to remember the mechanics and actually take care of them, even though they've nerfed some things. So that was great.
Yeah, and then when we did that hard mode last night too, we ended up doing CCing. Things went a lot very smooth after we started doing that.
Yeah, because they did not go smooth when we just face pulled and
when we just ran in
into a big old group and got all clobbered. All right.
Got all clobbered.
But I think we did have a little bit of news this week, so why don't we talk about some news?
Now, an Imperial News Network report.
So Toby McCall was one of the devs on the forums this week with 2 feedback threads asking about people's sense of how the new cartel packs are working out. And he broke it into 2 groups. One is the cartel packs in general, just the random cartel pack. And the second one was about the category and the bronze, silver, gold packs. The thing I really liked that he did, I think he did a great job in listening to the feedback. It was obvious he read through the threads because he posted in both of those a summary post that said, okay, let me echo back to you the summary feedback that I heard from you, and we'll take that back and see what we can do about that. So on the general packs, he said, I hear what you're saying about it not feeling as valuable because there's less items in the pack. And I had actually heard that randomly from people earlier in the week as well. And then on the gold, silver, bronze, that was people were feeling pretty good about those, but they'd like the full list of everything that's in those packs, especially since it's going to change over time. and maybe they cost a little bit too much. So that I thought he did a good job on those. Did you agree with the feedback that was coming out of those threads, Seema?
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of the feedback people had given were pretty thoughtful. I mean, I one guy said, "This is what I'm used to paying a dollar for in another game, or $1.50, and it's costing basically $2 in SWTOR." Which that's to me, whether it's inaccurate or accurate, it's still data. It's not just I hate you, I'm gonna rage quit. But yeah, I thought it was a pretty good thread all in all.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was too. What else? I think we had a patch this week. Another one.
Yep, a patch. I think it was on Wednesday, on the 26th. This is basically a sort of a post-launch bug fix patch. There were some companions influencing that had to be corrected, and apparently, if you got your act dog and you enabled Nico early, then they couldn't participate until you finish the story. Did they fix that? And because I didn't really even notice that, but I had gotten my act dog and I was running around with her. You know, my act dog is a her. Not in the story part where they assign you one, but like in some areas where it's open to other players and stuff, and you run around and click on things, I could bring my act dog out in those areas, which I thought was good because I wanted to play with the act dog since I just got her. They had to correct some gear stats, a lot of gear stats, and there are other miscellaneous fixes like they fixed some. There was a hole that people could use to skip getting the level sync implemented on them when they went to a planet. They closed that up, and a couple other little things like there was a way to get onto your the other factions world, which I think might have been exiting from the stronghold, but I don't know that. But they fixed that and a few other little miscellaneous things like that.
Yeah, I wish I had heard about that one because I would have gone and done it.
I wish I'd known about that one. Yeah.
I always wanted to. I think they should allow that. That would be pretty cool, especially on PvP servers. Go run around on those low level planets.
If you want to kill yourself in that particular way, why not?
Yeah, I kill myself in all the ways possible. So yes, in addition, the only other update that I saw was that they posted a note on the 29th that they activated additional hardware. So it does seem that there is quite a bit of population on a lot of the servers. We even saw some queues on a couple of the servers. I see servers every night popping to heavy and very heavy. And so it's great that they're getting a bunch of players coming back. That's really fun. The fact that they need additional hardware is interesting. I'm surprised they don't have everything just in the cloud in AWS or Azure and just burst capacity when they need to, but I don't know. That's something that I can help them with if they would like.
Yes.
In guild news, shout out to our guildies. We have been having quite a bit of fun with our mandatory fun nights, and we're going to continue to do that. Maybe do some world bosses because we know we need a couple of those. Maybe do some more of the datacrons, round those out, and do our ops finder stuff when we can. If to anyone not in AIE, don't forget that as you're ramping up here and coming back to the game in Knights of the Fallen Empire, AIE is always looking for new members on Jedi Covenant. The Greater AIE Guild is a large, family-friendly, multi-game guild with a pretty solid community here in SWTOR, both on the Republic and the Imperial sides. You can join our guild and hang out in our stuff like our mandatory fun nights and a couple of our ops teams. I think there's a new ops team starting up. Feel free to jump in and check those out. You can find our forums and other guild information, including apps or how to join the guild on aie-guild.org. And anytime you can just jump in on Jedi Covenant and do a /cjoin AIE LFO and catch any of our officers for a guild invite instantly. We would love to have you. Also, big thanks to chat room. We've got a bunch of people here in the Twitch chat room tonight for our live broadcast. I think we got about 20 people viewing at this point. That's pretty cool. Also, community-wise, big thanks to Spheric, SWTORista, Apollos, Armanoir, Arvachet, Madmar, Ori, and Master Lu, who were our mini interviews for last week's show. If you didn't get a chance to listen, I did an interview with a bunch of all of those people, and asked them, what do you think so far, and what's your favorite thing about 4.0 so far? So it was pretty light content. It wasn't super critical. We weren't trying to, talk about every little detail in Knights of the Fallen Empire, but it was really fun to talk to all of those people, and it was fun certainly to talk to a few people that I had never talked to directly in person before. SWTORista was really fun to talk to. Armanoir was fun. Madmar I had done some things with before, and Master Lu, who's also in AIE now and doing a bunch of things on his own and quite a prolific blogger. You should check out some of his stuff. And then our guildies, of course, the usual suspects. That was fun. So thanks, guys. And finally, a shout out to Bill Lentz, who's trading some notes back and forth with me on Twitter this afternoon for secret ways that he and I are making money off the GTN lately. So I guess it's not so secret that it's public on Twitter now, but you could check that out there if you want.
And before we leave news completely, I do want to say too, the cartel market has the Halloween items up. If you meant to buy them last year and didn't get them, they're still up, like the trick-or-treat treatment chamber, the ethereal rackling, infected tree, phantasmal rackling. So just a PSA.
Yeah, I have a couple of those. I think I certainly have the what do they call it? The chamber, the trick-or-treater chamber.
Yeah. Yeah. What do they call it? Trick or treat. The TRK-R treatment chamber.
Treatment chamber. That's it. The trick or treatment chamber. That I do like. It's like a big pumpkin. But with that, I think we can talk about crafting, because it has been quite lucrative for me so far, at least. 4.0 Craftacular. Crafting in 4.0. So we had the patch notes leading into this, and so far we've been able to validate a lot of the things that we've learned from 4.0 to date. We'll go through a bunch of those updates that we saw in the patch notes. We'll talk about what we've done so far to validate a lot of those things that happened, and we'll talk about a little bit of what else we're doing and what I've been doing on the GTN that I've been making some money off of crafting lately, and what that's looking from my point of view, and Seema's what she's been doing so far to validate it. But overall, the crafting changes in Fallen Empire, they're broken up into a bunch of groups, and we touched on a few of these before, but to summarize some of the key points, we'll go through sort of each chunk of changes as they've been introduced to the game, and what we've thought of them so far and what we've been able to validate. A couple of the basics. The skill cap is still at 500. It's still all the same skills. The groups of skills where you have to sort of train up to the new cap, you got to like 450 and you had to go back to the trainer and train it. That's all gone away. That's great. Everything's been compressed into 8 grades instead of the 10 or 11 that it had been before. But they did change it within crafting for each of those groups more than they ever had in the past. And they got rid of a lot of green stuff and either made it old and made you not able to train any of that old green stuff before, and everything is now starts at blue, sort of the rarer, better set of gear, and gives you the opportunity to be reverse engineering those things to get to purple items. In fact, at Endgame, and I did this and validated, you can get the 208 blue schematics for gear off of the trainer, and you can reverse engineer that into a purple 216, and then reverse engineer that into a purple 220 endgame gear, either associated with any of the crafting. So endgame weapons, endgame armoring, endgame synthweaving, endgame... I guess that's it. But we'll talk about that in detail because there's some caveats to what that looks like. But besides that, the only other thing that they added in is everything now also requires a component. So the green thing that you need to craft up is the component specific to the discipline. So armor mechs make an armoring component, and it takes 2 Ferrium, 2 Molitex, and 2 Vanadium Flux. And same thing. So synth weaving makes a synth component, and arms tech makes an arms component, and biochem makes a I don't know, they cell culture. I don't know why they call it not like a bio component, but they gave those some weird name, which is fine. What do you think of those crafting components in that edition in particular, Seema? Because I think that's a little bit of a interesting spin.
I my general feeling is that I like them because they're just, I don't know, they're kind of a mindless thing to do. Like when I have the mats to make a couple of augments. I'll set an augment on one companion and an augment on the second companion, and then I'll just make components on the next 3 companions if I'm not sending them on missions instead. So it's like something that I know I can always use more of them, so why not just make them? It is a bit of a barrier for me right now because I don't always have enough of them to make what I want to make. So I have to. What used to be a 1-step process is now a 2-step process, but it's not onerous. So I guess I'm not minding it. What's your take on it?
I sort of don't like that it's an extra thing, and you gotta like make a thing to make a thing, and then I run out of them, or I have to have a stack of them sitting in my inventory, and blah blah blah. I do find them quite useful when I need to, or since I have been trying to make some armor kits, because you need the reverse engineered armor component, and you can make a stack of those components, and you can reverse engineer the whole stack all at once and get one each of the armor kit subcomponents that you need 10 of them to make an armor kit. So that was sort of useful. You don't have to make like a whole bunch of whatever, green gear piece, wrist pieces, and fill up your inventory and reverse engineer each one. So that's fine.
I know.
But
it is kind of cool to be able to reverse engineer something that's stackable like that.
Yeah. But it's like a multi-step process then, and you've got this extra ingredient, and you have to have a stack of them sitting around. I also messed up a little bit in the beginning. I didn't realize that each discipline has its own component. Arms tech has the arms component. Armor mech has the armor component. So at first I thought it was just a generic component. So I went, it was Varium and Molitex. So I went over to my arms tech, and I made a stack of them, and I put them in Legacy because I figured my armor mech could use them. It's Varium and Molitex, but no, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
So it's okay. I think it, pluses and minuses to it. Anything else on the base changes before we get into like the some of the changes to the disciplines themselves?
I'll just say that I do like the way it's simplified. That when I went to learn what I needed to learn from the trainer, for instance, I just needed to learn a way smaller number of enhancements or whatever than it has been before, since it's now all consolidated. So again, I like the simplification thing.
Yeah.
Better for my brain.
Yep. So next set of changes, they did do some musical chairs on what the actual crew skill disciplines are able to make. So they took armorings away from cybertechs. They gave armoring, endurance armoring, sort of the resistive armorings, to armor mechs. They gave the versatile armorings, the non-tank armorings, to synth weavers. And then they took enhancements away from artificers, and they gave enhancements to cybertechs.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of musical chairs there, and then there was a little bit of musical chairs and shuffling on the augments also. So armor mechs can now make shield, absorb, and mastery, which is the main stat augment. Synth weavers can now make alacrity, defense, and crit augments. And arms tech make the accuracy, endurance, and power augments. So 3 each from each of those crafting disciplines. So it's well balanced now, I think, but it seemed a little weird having that sort of musical chairs happen between the crafting disciplines.
Before 4.0 dropped, I made the comment that it looked like Armor Mechs were going to be the winners because they could make the mastery augment. But now I have to adjust
Right.
and say Synth Weavers totally the winners because they can make crit and alacrity, and those are the augments that right now anyway, um, the math is suggesting that people should use at least DPS and heals.
Yes. So
And then Synth Weaver can also make defense.
right. So that's a topic for another time. But yeah, the latest theory crafting, you should definitely check out those threads on the forums and on Reddit. And Ufalong replied to me a little bit. I know he's going to be doing some of his own theory crafting. All augments should be alacrity or crit. All crystals in your weapons should be crit. And you should not be doing main stat of mastery of main stat augments anymore, basically. So
Right.
take a look. So yeah, with that, alacrity and crit for Synthweavers, that's going to be a big deal. So you're still going to want shield and absorb off the armor mechs for tanks, and arms tech having endurance and accuracy is still useful. You may still need one or two in accuracy augments, and then tanks will still be either doing endurance or they'll be doing shield absorb. So everybody's still got something. I'm finding that all of those augments are still selling. A lot of mastery augments are continuing to sell too, I think, because people haven't caught up.
Yes. Right. When we say, you don't want mastery augments, we mean when you're augmenting your gear. For selling, people still buy them, so yeah.
Right. Although I feel a little bad selling them because you shouldn't be buying these.
Well, I mean, maybe they're whatever. They have their reasons.
They're doing it for science. They're testing against dummies, the math models.
Well, I mean, not everybody is doing ops.
True. And not everybody cares to min-max. You can just throw mastery augments in all of your gear and it'll be great.
Right. It won't be terrible. It'll be, yeah, like
you just
say.
Won't be squeezing out that extra, 0.666 repeating percent advantage. So let's see what else. Next group of changes. They got rid of all the reusables. That made me a little bit sad. So Biochem don't have reusable stims or med packs anymore, or adrenals, which I really like, the reusable adrenals. And Cybertechs don't have the reusable grenades anymore. So they wanted to balance that out and make it more fair for the classes for the crew skills that didn't have a reusable. They wanted to make it more fair, so they took away the reusables from the ones that did.
Or they didn't want to make it so if you were really into ops, you felt you had to take biochem.
Right, exactly. Or if you're really into PvP, you had to take Cybertech because you're using the grenades.
Right.
So
I personally didn't miss this a lot. I was using the reusables for adrenals, but I hadn't been using them for med packs or stems for a long time.
Yeah.
And I know that they're convenient for both of those if you're out and about doing dailies or whatever, but I haven't really found that I ever use a med pack when I'm out and about. I've only ever used med packs in ops. So it's kind of a neither here nor there for me. And I don't mind. See, here's the other thing for me is like on the adrenals, they're so easy to make, and you can make them in huge numbers with mats that are so easily available. I'm just not that bent out of shape about this one.
Yeah, same. For ops, I always used the crafted, the non-reusable stem. And really for adrenals, I didn't use the reusable in ops, so it was rare that I used it. Of course, I don't have biochem on my mercenary, so it wasn't really an issue. But
I mean, I did have biochem on my ops character, and this is why, but I just never changed since I stopped using them. But I do feel like it kind of frees me up now if I want to change from biochem to, say, slicing.
Right.
Which I might do on her.
Yes, because slicing is still awesome. I was afraid that it would not be, but it still is. There was some early data mining that showed that some of the augments might not require adaptive or circuitry. What's the purple slicing mat that all the augments require?
I kind of liked that the droid armor was removed from the game because I personally never crafted that for sale too much. I did in the early days.
Good point.
Um, but I just think it simplifies that the droids don't have to wear gear at all. I mean, one of the things about getting HK was getting him geared up took a significant amount of effort, and now it's like not an issue.
Right. I do like the companion changes so much that I'm fine with them with not needing those parts. I think the stuff going away off of some of these crew skills did upset some people. You know, if you spend a whole bunch of time like
Mm-hmm.
reverse engineering a whole bunch of stuff so that your cyber tech had a
Yes.
whole bunch of arm rings that they could make as you're leveling up, and you had this nice collection, to get that sort of taken away from you,
Yeah,
that does sort of suck. And you know, you had
it
a bunch
does.
of cool droid
Was
parts, and now they all got taken away and they're useless now. That sort of sucks.
right. Yeah, I totally agree, and I can understand that. Again, for me though, I never made arm rings because I wasn't that interested in them, and still not because I want the arm rings for myself that have the set bonus.
Yep, exactly. Which gets us to the next group of changes, which is, well, so let's see. Um, all of the mods that come out, so mod armoring enhancements that come out of operations gear, can be reverse engineered for their schematics. You cannot reverse engineer the entire operations piece anymore. The shells cannot be reverse engineered, but the mods can. So that's what you want to be taking out of ops gear, and you want to be making those mods out of ops gears. Same with hilts and barrels. Um,
And in the past, not all of the mods, enhancements, and arm rings that you could take out of ops gear could be reverse engineered to learn schematics. So this is different in that it all can be now.
right. Secondarily, or next, outside of ops gear, if you never go into ops, if you're never going into getting that ops gear, you can make story mode and hard mode level gear, 216 and 220 gear, from the trainers and through reverse engineering. However, the gear that you're getting there, so here's one of the key differences. When you go to your trainer and you get the 208 blue pieces, say I'm an armor mech. So I go to the trainer, and he's got a bunch of schematics on there. They're the 500 level 208 gear. They're blue pieces, and it's a
Mm-hmm.
blue chest. It's a blue legs. You know, they've got the two kinds. They've got the two kinds that the armor mech can make for heavy armor wearers and medium armor wearers. So I get that. They don't have any mods in them. So it's a
Right.
non-moddable piece. So it's a blue piece. It's a non-moddable piece. It's a nice blue piece. It's 208. If I take that piece and I make it, and then I reverse engineer it, I have a 100% chance to get the 216 purple version of that piece of gear. Again,
Yeah, the schematic for
the
it.
schematic. Yeah, so then they reverse engineer it. I learned the pattern. I learned the schematic for the 216 piece. That's great, except again, it's a non-moddable piece. So you can't like switch out the armoring to make it, or you can't pull the mods out and use them. It's a full piece. It's a nice piece,
Right.
but it's a full piece that's non-moddable. You can still augment it,
Right.
but it's non-moddable. And you can put crystals in the weapons, but they're non-moddable. Um, if you take that 216 piece and make it, and we'll talk about how you make that in just a second because that takes a new special component. But if you make that piece and reverse engineer, you'll get the 220 piece. Now, 220 is the second highest. It's almost the top level gear. The 224 is the only higher level, which is nightmare gear. But hard mode ops gear is 220. So you're basically making, just from reverse engineering off of the trainer, you can make a full set of 220 gear for yourself and for whoever else you're going to sell it to. Now, how do you do that? To make the 216 and 220 purple pieces requires a new purple material called, what's that one called? That's called the strategic resource matrix.
Right.
And where the place you get the strategic resource matrix is a little bit tricky. You need to reach your personal conquest target. So people that aren't familiar
Right.
with conquest is the system. If you hit L and look on the conquest tab on your ops, your missions tab, you don't have to be in a guild that's participating in conquest to be able to achieve your personal conquest target. Your personal conquest target is achieved by doing a bunch of things in the game, and it's different every week, and it's different depending on maybe the planet that your guild might be invading. But it involves doing things like PvP or GSF or a bunch of PvE things, a little bit of crafting, killing random things on random planets, participating in some of the event stuff. You do a bunch of things throughout the week. You reach your conquest target. As soon as you hit that conquest target, you get your strategic resource matrix. Now, those strategic resource matrix are selling for about 800 to 1,000,000 credits on Jedi Covenant right now, so they're relatively valuable because you can make the 216 gear out of it. The 216 gear, what do you think of it, Seema? Okay, so what do you think of crafting it? All of those things. Crafting it, having to use the strategic resource matrix and having to do conquest to get it, and then the gear you end up with.
So, okay. I know I sound kind of Pollyanna-ish in this episode because I'm like, I like this change and I don't hate that change and whatever. But I'm okay with this because I think it strikes a kind of a good balance between giving crafting something valuable they can make, the 216 and 220 gear, but it's not easy. You have to work for it, or you have to spend a lot of money for it. So you don't have to go into ops for it, but you do have to make your personal conquest target. I mean, to make the 220, you have to get from ops, or you have to pay a lot of money. So I'm okay with that aspect of it. I personally, like I've said before, I'm not a huge fan of conquest because I got burned out on it. Maybe this will wake it up for me a little bit, but so that in a way that strategic resource matrix feels a little bit out of reach to me, but we'll see how that goes as time goes forward. But I personally will probably never make that gear that you described, the armor mech gear, but I might make implants, earpieces, offhands, and maybe main hands.
Maybe. And why won't you make the actual armor pieces?
Because they're not moddable.
And they don't have set bonuses.
It doesn't feel flexible to me. Yeah, and right. Crafted stuff has never had set bonus, so I guess I'm used to that.
Right. But I need the set bonus. I want the set bonus. They don't have set bonus. You can't give it a set bonus.
For the same reason, I'm not that interested in making arm rings, and it's because I don't use them, and that makes me think they won't be easy. There's like a whole group of people that also won't be interested in them. Then I don't feel like making them to sell because it's not a no-brainer that they'll sell.
Right.
I kind of like to stick with the stuff that's kind of a no-brainer.
It's not a no-brainer, but they are on the market right now for a relatively high price, so that makes me think.
Well, I think right now, if you're making arm rings, it's different from later in the X-Pack, but
yeah.
So I like this blue/purple gear better than I thought I was going to, because when I first read about it, the only thing I could think of is that it would be like the inheritance and the birthright gear that nobody has any use for, just at a higher level. And it may one day turn out to be like that, but I don't know. I think it's kind of giving something to crafting that they haven't had, which is the ability to make stuff that's useful in the long run. And, not everything has to be... I mean, if you're going to make 220 gear, maybe it's going to be a long time before you even get access to any mods that would be better than that gear. And at that point, you can go back to your old shell and start putting mods in it.
Right. I don't know. I made a piece that was tank gear of the 208, reverse engineered it to see the 216 piece. It does look pretty good. I could see potentially making a piece or two. If I'm not going to get set bonuses for a while on my tank and I want to fill in with a couple 216 or 220 pieces, I could see doing that.
If I find that we're just not doing the content that's going to yield like a chest or legs or something, maybe I will too. Like maybe I've already got 6-piece bonus, but I'm still having trouble getting that last piece. Maybe I will craft it. Who knows?
Yeah, the one thing, the economics of it, I don't like all that much. And what I mean by that is if I consider the strategic resource matrix to cost about 800 or 900k, in order to make a 220 piece, I need to expend one, so that's 900k, to get the schematic for the 216 piece. or to get the schematic for the 220 piece. Because I take the 208, I reverse engineer it, I get the 216. Then I have to craft a 216 with a strategic resource matrix, you know, and then reverse engineer it, so I expend it there. And then I need to use another one to make the 220 piece. So two of them, now I'm up to 1.6 to 1.8 million credits worth of gear that I'm now crafting to get my one 220 piece. Which, that doesn't sound that great to me.
Well, okay,
in terms of value.
I did look at implants earlier today, and right now they're selling for more than that. So
okay,
if you or they're posted for more than that, I should say.
Sure.
So I mean, and that's how much it costs to make your first one, and then after that, as you pointed out earlier, it's a little bit less because you don't have to do this. You don't have to have the cost of the strategic resource matrix, only the dark matter catalyst. So it's a little bit less, but I mean, now is the time. If you're going to do that, now is the time in the market to do it, because later on, well, I don't know. Later on, it'll be cheaper to make too.
True, because there'll be more of those strategic resource matrix floating around. Now, on the flip side, on the operations gear, when you want to make those mods that you reverse engineered out of operations drops, those require a different component called a dark matter catalyst, and those dark matter catalysts only come from ops. And they drop off ops bosses. I think they only drop off the end boss. We only saw one when we did the ops, at least for story mode. So those are going to be few and far between as well.
Yeah, and I mean, it doesn't seem like you're going to be able to go run group finder ops every day and stock up on that. It just seems like that's going to be hard to come by.
Plus, it seemed like only one was dropping from the boss. It wasn't like 8 were dropping, and we had 8 people in there. So that's a little bit harsh.
It's like the matter transubstantiator.
Exactly like the matter transubstantiator.
They might drop off the end boss in story mode, but then, you know, more bosses if you do it in hard mode.
Now those pieces, especially like the barrels and hilts, the 42s and 43 barrels and hilts, and the mods that you can get off of there, those are selling for a lot right now. The barrels and hilts, even the 216s are going for a couple million. The 220s are going for upwards of 4 million. A lot of the crafters that can make those, the trick that, especially on the barrels and hilts, the trick there is you get the schematic, you make one, then you go on the fleet and you tell people you will trade them their mats for free, their mats to make it, which includes a dark matter catalyst. For the one that you've crafted. They do that, and that's fine. That's a good deal for them. They get one instantly. Then you take it and you make another one, and what you're hoping for is to crit, because if you crit on a barrel or a hilt, you get 2. So as soon as you crit,
and if you're really, really crafty, you're crafting it on with a companion that you've gotten max influence on.
Yep.
Already.
Because max influence gives you a 25% crit rate now, and that scales linearly. So if you're up to 25 influence and not 50, rank 50, if you're at rank 25, it's 12.5% crit rate. If you go all the way up to 50, it's 25% crit rate. So that's a pretty good deal. Then as soon as you crit on one, you still go back to the fleet and do your trade for your mats, but you take the other one that you created, you put that on the market, and there's your 4 million profit.
Nice.
So. Oh. Sorry, Cortana was...
I was wondering what happened there.
Cortana heard me say something.
She's helping you.
Thank you. So let's see, what else to wrap it up?
I just want to say that I am disappointed that you can't make relics in this way. I wish we could make relics, but you know, I guess the plan is for relics to be the sort of the rare thing that's hard to get, and that you have to do ops to get it.
Right. Which, not that rare in terms if you just go to ops, because...
Yeah, we've already seen them drop, so... Yeah, they're not that rare. And you can buy relics
Oh,
with comms, but they're not the.
hold on just a sec.
Uh-oh.
Guys in the chat room, how long ago did that change?
When you said when Cortana started
Cortana messed it up.
use, yeah.
Dang it, Cortana. Hold on. How if it, no, she's stop. Hold on. Okay, fixed. I will have to keep an eye on that.
I can hear you. I can hear your Twitch, you.
You can.
So something's messed up.
Oh no.
Oh, now I don't hear Twitch.
Is all good?
Yes, for me.
Good. Good. I will have to keep an eye on that in the future. So let's see. What were we saying?
I was saying that I'm disappointed that we cannot make relics, but I guess the idea is that relics will be the sort of thing that's a little bit more rare than everything else, which, I guess that's fine.
Yeah. Yep, I already got one out of an ops. They're not too rare. So that was the first drop I got out of the first group finder that I went into. Just
we have already seen them
rolling
drop
for greed.
but they won't be, millions of them on the GTN like things that you can craft.
Right. So you can't just start ahead and fill in with them.
And you can buy them with comms, but they're not the ones that we're used to desiring. Maybe some math will come up that shows us that these are better now than the ones we used to desire. But
no, they suck.
Right now, no, it isn't. Okay. So the ones we still want, Serendipitous Assault and Focus Retribution, we're just going to have to wait for them to drop in ops.
Yes.
And when I say we, I mean DPS and heals, because tanks are another issue.
Yep. The ones you can get with basic glowing and radiant crystals off the crystal vendors, you do not want as DPS and heals. So ignore them.
I still say comms, but yes, what you just said.
Yeah. Final set of changes, which I have been having fun with, is harvesting nodes can now be harvested regardless of your skill level. You'll just get more or less depending on how much skill you have on any planet. They give scaling amounts of materials depending on which which planet you go to. Depending on your skill level, you get varying amounts. So if you have very little skill level, you won't get very many materials out of a node. If you have a lot of skill level, you get the most materials out of a node. You do seem to get quite a few materials out of a node, more than before at top skill level ranges, from what I can see. And they made some fixes like archaeology crystals. Any of the crystals now also drop the fragments and the useful crystals, like Rusin crystals, in addition to the color crystals, and not just crappy color crystals out of those.
I tested that out. It's true.
It is true. So those are good. So I was running around on Yavin because I needed a little Molitex and Ferium, and got a ton of it, and got a ton of crystals, and those nodes are just raining materials out of them. So that's all quite useful these days. So I
know I was gone for almost a week, but the main reason I'm behind is because of crafting, because I did that thing to get my knight to 56, and really just sitting here right now, all I want to do is go farm some Ferium and some Molitex because I'm almost out of Molitex.
Yeah, I used up a ton because I started making myself some armor kits, and because I started to PvP.
I bought a stack of it today.
So I'm making a PvP set for my mercenary, which I did not have, and I want to put it on a legacy set, so I need to get a bunch of armor kits and a bunch of augments, and so I had to farm a bunch of materials and yada yada yada. It's a big chain of stuff to do, which content.
And we touched on this last week, and it's only kind of related, but it is related. I like the whole thing about the missions all being available all the time, because it's driving the crafting for me, trying to get the purple slicing thing, and so I'm doing a lot of that kind that side of crafting too, which is crew missions.
Yep, I'm doing that too. And I can always be running even that little extra one that gets you Vanadium Flux and Zusha Solution. That's always there. I don't have to try to find it or do our little trick of switching instance